Hi everyone, this is Arvind from MindMajix, and today I welcome you all to this amazing session on manual testing interview questions. Okay, so guys, manual testing, or you can say software testing, is a very good career option for candidates. Okay, so let's just say like you have recently graduated from college and you want to start a career or you want to start a job in the IT industry. Okay, so what you can do is you can there is software development, there is software. Okay, so the first and foremost question over here is, what do you know about software testing? Software testing refers to the validation process that helps evaluate whether the system is working according to the requirements of the business. Okay, so this process helps qualify software on varying aspects like efficiency, completeness, accuracy, usability, and so on. Okay, so this was a very basic question and a very easy question. Okay, so the next question is, when is the ideal time to stop the process of testing? So the testing activity stops once the team has completed the following objections. So what are those objections? So the first one is successful completion of the full test cycle once the final bug has been fixed. Okay, then the end date of the validation stage if no high priority or critical defects have been left behind. Okay, and the third step, or you can say the third stage over here is in case the team has achieved the expected level of code coverage ratio. Okay, so these are the three stages, or you can say the scenarios that are ideal for you to stop the process of testing. Okay, so let's move ahead with the next question. So in software testing, what is the meaning of verification and validation? Okay, so verification is the process that helps confirm that the development of a product is underway according to the specifications and the standard procedures of the development. Okay, so in this process, inspection, reviews, walkthroughs, and demos are a few stages. Okay, so now if you talk about validation, so validation is all about confirming that the developed product is devoid of bugs and working as expected. So in this process, functional testing and non-functional testing are the two stages. Okay, so let's move ahead with the next question. So the next question is, define static testing and when does static testing begin? Okay, so static testing is the white box testing technique that helps direct developers to cross-check their code through a checklist to find the errors. So developers can effortlessly begin static testing without really finalizing the program or the application. Okay, the next question over here is, what do you mean by black box testing? Okay, so black box testing is a standard testing approach that needs testers to evaluate the software's functionality according to the business needs or the business requirements. Okay, so the software gets tested as a black box and gets the validation according to the end user's point of view. The next question over here is, what do you mean by a test plan? Okay, so a test plan is a plan that retains all of the potential testing activities to make sure the product is qualitative. Okay, so it accumulates the data from the use case documents, requirements, and product descriptions. So let's move ahead with the next question. So the next question is an extension to the previous question. It states, what does the test plan include? Okay, so as you can see on the screen, these are the things that are included in the test plan, such as testing objectives, risk factors, test scope, deliverables, testing the frame, criteria for entry and exit, the testing environment, and the reasons for testing. So the next question is, define test coverage. Okay, so the test coverage is referred to as the quality metric that displays the amount of testing that has been completed in percentage. Okay, so the test coverage is relevant for both non-functional and functional testing activities. Okay, so apart from this, it is used to add those test cases that have been missing. The next question over here is a very important question. So can you achieve 100% testing coverage? Okay, so it is not possible for any tester to perform 100% testing of any software product. So however, there are a few steps that you can perform to get closer to the 100% mark. Okay, so what are those steps? So the first step over here is you can set a hard limit. Okay, so you can set a hard limit on the percentage of test cases passed and the number of bugs discovered. Okay, in the second step, you can set a red flag in case there is a depletion of the test budget and there is a breach of the deadlines. Okay, and in the third step, what you can do is you can set a green flag in case the entire functionality is covered in the test cases. Also, all the critical and major bugs have a closed status. Okay, so using these three steps, you can try to achieve close to 100% testing coverage. The next question is define unit testing. Okay, so unit testing is also known by different names such as component testing or module testing. Okay, so a lot of time developers test individual modules or units to see if they work adequately. The next question is define integration testing. Okay, so integration testing helps you to validate how well two or more software units will be interacting with one another. Okay, so there are three different ways to validate the integration. Okay, so the first approach is the Big Bang approach. The next approach is the bottom-up approach. And the third approach is the top-down approach. So the next question is it possible to do system testing at any possible stage? So the answer to this question is no, it is not possible. So system testing should begin only once all the modules are in place and are working correctly. Okay, so however, it is better if performed before the user acceptance testing. The next question is, what is the difference between a test stub and a test driver? Okay, so the test stub is referred to as a dummy program that helps you integrate with an application to complete the functionality. So it is relevant for such testing types that uses a top-down approach. Okay, and if you talk about the test driver, so it is nothing but a code section that calls a software component under the test. Okay, so it is effective in testing that follows a bottom-up approach. The next question over here is, what are the different types of software testing? Okay, so guys, as you can see on the screen, these are the different types of software testings, such as unit testing, functional testing, integration testing, smoke testing, regression testing, shakeout testing, system testing, white box testing, and black box testing. Okay, so apart from this, there is also alpha and beta testing and performance testing. Okay, so now let's move ahead. Okay, so the next question is define the PDCA cycle. Okay, so in a normal software development process, there are 4 varying steps referred to as PDCA. Okay, so what is the full form of PDCA? So PDCA is nothing but plan, do, check, and act. So the plan defines the objectives and the comprehensive strategy to achieve that objective. Okay, so do depends upon the strategy finalized during the first stage. If you talk about the check, so check is the testing part of the software development stage. It is used to make sure that everything is happening as per the plan. And the final step is the act that is used to solve any issue arising during the checking cycle. The next question is, what are the benefits of designing tests early in the life cycle? So the answer to this question is, by designing the test early in the life cycle, we can effortlessly avoid defects from being available in the main code. The next question is, define exploratory testing. So exploratory testing is referred to when designing and execution takes place simultaneously against an application. So in this type of testing, the tester uses domain knowledge and the testing experience to forecast under what conditions and where the system may behave in an unanticipated way. The next question over here is, how can you explain risk-based testing? Okay, so risk-based testing is one such testing strategy that is based upon prioritizing tests by keeping risks in mind. Okay, so it is based on a comprehensive risk analysis approach that further categorizes the risk by their priority. So those with the highest priority get resolved first. The next question over here is, what do you know about accessibility testing? Okay, so accessibility testing comes into the picture when there is a need to verify whether the software is accessible to everybody, including those with disabilities such as blind, deaf, mentally challenged, and so on. The next question is define agile testing. So agile testing is one such practice that uses agile methodologies and follows a paradigm of test first design. The next question is, what do you understand by automated testing? Okay, so when done by software tools and executed without any manual intervention, testing is referred to as automated testing. Okay, so this type of testing can be used in API, performance, GUI, and much more. The next question is define baseline testing. So in baseline testing, a specific set of tests is run to gain the information regarding the performance. So baseline testing enhances the capabilities and the performance of the application with the help of collected information to make the changes in the application. So this specific test helps compare the application's present performance with the previous performance. The next question over here is, what are the important testing types for web testing? Okay, so guys, this is a very important question as far as the freshers candidates are concerned. Okay, so there are two major types of testing for web testing. The first one is the performance testing, and the second one is the security testing. So if you talk about performance testing, so it is a technique wherein quality attributes are evaluated, such as responsiveness, scalability, speed under varying load conditions, and so on. So the performance testing defines attributes that require improvement before the launch. Okay, and now if you talk about the security testing, so this is one technique that comprehends the resources and the data that must be saved from hackers or intruders. Okay, so let's move ahead with the next question. And the next question is, what is the difference between validation and verification? Okay, so guys, as you can see on the screen, this is the difference between validation and verification. So in actual interview also, if you're asked such kind of question like state difference between so and so, so what you can do is you can ask for a pen and paper. You can make two separate columns, one for validation, one for verification, and you can in short words, you can write the points that you want to explain. Okay, so here in case of validation, this is a dynamic testing. Okay, and in case of verification, it is a static testing. Okay, so the next point in validation is validation takes place after verification. Okay, and verification takes place before validation. Okay, so if you talk about the use of validation, so validation assesses the products. Okay, and verification assesses documents, plans, specifications, and the requirements. Okay, in validation testing, a real product is tested. Okay, in verification testing, inputs are the issue list, checklist, inspection, and walkthroughs. Okay, and the last point in validation testing is here the actual product is the output. Okay, whereas in verification, plans, documents, requirements, and specifications are the outputs. Okay, so I hope this clears the difference between verification and validation. The next question is, explain the difference between reactive and preventive approaches. Okay, so the reactive tests are designed once the software is developed, whereas preventative tests are designed earlier than that. So the next question is, what is the use of decision table testing? A decision table comprises of inputs and outputs in the same column, only that the output comes above and the inputs are placed below them. Okay, also decision table testing is used for testing the systems for which the specification takes cause-effect combination or the rules. The next question is, what are positive and negative testing? So positive testing is when you put valid input and anticipate to expect certain actions that are completed as per the specifications. Whereas negative testing is when you put an invalid input and then get an error. The next question is a very important question as far as the manual testing interview is concerned. So the next question is, what is the meaning of boundary value analysis? Okay, so in boundary value analysis, we test the precise boundaries. For instance, suppose there is a bank application where you can withdraw a minimum of 100 and a maximum of 25,000 rupees. So here we will test the above and the below maximum scenarios in boundary value analysis. So in boundary value testing, we only test above the max and below the max. So this covers all of the scenarios. The next question is define the types of performance testing. So performance testing is a technique that helps determine the system's performance such as stability, scalability, and speed. So there are different types of software testing techniques over here, such as load, stress, spike, endurance, volume, and scalability. So let us discuss these techniques one by one. So if you talk about load testing, so this is a technique wherein a system is tested with an increasing load until it attains a threshold value. If you talk about the stress testing, so this is one such technique that helps check the system when the hardware resources are not sufficient, such as disk space, memory, CPU, and so on. If you talk about spike testing, so in this technique, a subset of load testing that checks the application's instability when the load is varying or changing. So if you talk about endurance testing, so this is the subset of load testing, and this checks the system's behavior. In volume testing, the system gets tested when the data volume is increased. And if you talk about scalability testing, so this is a technique that makes sure the system is working well in proportion to increasing demands of the users. The next question is related to functional testing. From this question onwards, we will be covering a few questions that are specifically related for functional testing. Okay, so the next question is, what is the meaning of functional testing? So functional testing is a black box testing technique where the application's functionality is tested to come up with anticipated results by offering a specific input. The role of functional testing is not just to validate the application's behavior, but it is also used to verify whether the application can be released or not. So the next question is, define the important steps covered in functional testing. Okay, so some of the important steps covered in the functional testing are, first, understanding the requirement documents and resolving the doubts as well as queries in the review comments. Next, you write the test cases in regards to the requirement specification by keeping every scenario in mind. Then you discover the test inputs along with requesting the test data that is needed to execute the test cases and also check the application's functionality. After that, comprehending the real outcomes according to the tested input values. And the final step is executing the test cases that understand whether the behavior of the application is as per the expectation or if any defects are present in the application. So these are the important steps that are covered in the functional testing. The next question is, what is the difference between functional and non-functional testing? Okay, so guys, as discussed earlier, if such kind of questions are asked in the interview, what you will do is on a piece of paper, you will make two columns. First one for functional testing and the second one for the non-functional testing. Okay, and then you can write points in the respective columns. So the first point over here is, like if you talk about functional testing, it is performed to comprehend the behavior of the system as per the requirements of the clients, or you can say the functional needs of the clients. Okay, and if you talk about the non-functional testing, so it is the process that helps comprehend whether the performance of the system is according to the client's requirements. Okay, if you talk about functional testing, here the manual and the automation testing tools are used to perform the testing. And here the effective tools are used to perform after the functional testing. Okay, so if you talk about the ease of difficulty, so functional testing is quite easy to perform, whereas non-functional testing is a bit difficult to perform. Okay, so now if you talk about the testing types that are covered in functional testing, so as you can see here, these are the various testing techniques that are covered in functional testing: unit testing, regression testing, smoke testing, user acceptance testing, sanity testing, and integration testing. And if you talk about the testing techniques covered in non-functional testing, so here you have performance testing, compatibility testing, load, stress, volume testing, and security testing. Okay, so I hope this clears the difference between functional and non-functional testing. Okay, so let's move ahead. The next question is, what is the difference between build and release? Okay, so the build is one executable file that is regarding the application's part handed over to the tester to test the functionalities and fix the bugs. The build can also reject the testing team if it doesn't have anything critical or major. And if you talk about the release, so it is a software application that doesn't exist in the testing phase anymore. So it has been handed over to the client. The next question is, what is the bug cycle? So a bug refers to an unwanted flaw, mistake, or an error occurring in the application and preventing it from generating the required result. When any bug is discovered during the testing of the application, so it goes through a definite life cycle from logging to resolving, and this is known as the bug life cycle. The next question is, what are the few statuses that are related to bugs? So as you can see on the screen, these are the statuses that are related to the bug, such as new, assigned, open, fixed, reopen, and invalid. Okay, so if you talk about the new, so it is when a bug is logged or discovered for the first time. The next one is the assigned. So if you talk about the assigned status, so once a bug is logged, it will be reviewed by the team lead and assigned to the developer team. The open status of the bug is when the tester has logged the bug in the open state and it remains in the open state until the developer has worked on it. Okay, so once the bug has been fixed or resolved, so it will be assigned the status fixed. Okay, and now if you talk about the reopen, so this status comes if the tester has detected the bug again. Okay, and the last point over here is invalid or not a bug. So a bug can be marked invalid when the developer reports an issue according to the functionality, but logged because of the misinterpretation. Okay, so these are few of the statuses that are related to the bug. The next question is, what is data-driven testing? So data-driven testing is a methodology where a series of test scripts comprising the test cases get executed consistently with the help of data sources such as SQL databases, CSV files, XML files, Excel spreadsheet for the input values. So here the real result is compared to the anticipated results during the verification process. The next question is, what essential points should be considered when writing the test cases? Okay, so writing a test case is meant to be an essential activity for the test execution process and requiring writing skills and profound knowledge of the application to make reusable and effective test cases. Okay, so some of the essential points that must be kept in mind are, the first point is there should be a precise understanding of the requirements before writing the test cases. So there should be no assumptions or doubts with respect to the requirements. So every requirement should be in form of test cases. So generally a traceability matrix is maintained to keep a track of every requirement integrated and testing completed. Okay, so the next point is, according to the requirements of the document specifications, every non-functional and functional requirement should be covered. And the last point is, test cases should be checked periodically for no redundancy or repetition. The next question is, define automation testing. So automation testing is one such method that uses automation tools to execute the test cases suite to improve test coverage and speed up the test execution process. Automation testing doesn't need any human intervention as it executes pre-scripted tests and it can compare and report the results with the previous test runs. The next question is, what do you understand by stress testing and load testing? Okay, so stress testing is a performance testing type where the application goes through stress or exertion, meaning that the application is executed above the break threshold to comprehend the point where it will crash. Okay, so usually this condition comes when there is too much data or too many users. Okay, so if you talk about load testing, so it is a performance testing type where the application gets executed above a variety of load levels to monitor the server's peak performance, server throughput, response time, and so on. The next question is, what do you understand by volume testing? Okay, so volume testing is a performance testing type that comprehends the response time and server throughput level when concurrent users and large data loads from the databases are put into the application or the system under test. After that, let's move ahead with the next question. So the next question is, what are the different test techniques in functional testing? Okay, so there are basically two different types of techniques over here. The first one is the requirements based testing, and the second one is the business process based testing. Okay, so if you talk about the requirements based testing, so this is a functional testing form that is performed by prioritizing the needs on the basis of risk criteria. Okay, so this also makes sure that all of the critical test paths get included in the process. And if you talk about the business process based testing, so this functional testing form is performed from the perspective of the business process. Okay, so the scenarios included in this are business process knowledge. The next question is, what do you mean by exploratory testing? Okay, so exploratory testing means exploring or testing the application without following any procedures or schedules. Okay, so when performing this testing type, testers don't track any set of patterns, but they use out of the box thinking and varying ideas to see how the application will perform. So let's move ahead with the next question. So this question is, based on a scenario, or you can say scenario based question. So what are the potential login features to be tested for any web application? Okay, so through this question, the interviewer wants to understand whether you have good amount of hands-on knowledge as far as software testing is concerned. Okay, so the potential scenarios to perform so as to test the login feature of an application include, as you can see on the screen, the first step is checking the fields of inputs such as the username and the password, and you must check it for both valid and invalid values. The next one is entering a valid email ID with an incorrect password and an invalid email ID with a valid password. The next step is entering valid credentials to log into the application. After that, entering the application after logging in and navigating back to the login page to check if the user is asked to log in again or not. After that, what you can do is you can sign in from a browser and open the application from another browser to check if you're still logged in. And the last point over here is changing the password after logging in and then trying to log in with the old password. Okay, so these are some of the potential login features that you can test for any web-based application. The next question over here is, what is the importance of accessibility testing? So in the present scenario, the web is dominating our lives through varying forms, including online payments, online learning, or you can say e-learning, shopping, and so on. Hence, to grow better, everybody should be a part of technology. So with accessibility testing, disabled people can use the internet with much more ease using speech recognition software, special keyboard, screen reader software, screen magnification software, and so on. The next set of question is for the experienced candidates, as discussed earlier. Okay, so those candidates who have at least 2 to 3 years of experience in manual testing. So these questions will be very helpful for you if you want to switch to, like, if you want to switch from one company to other company. So the next question is, what will be your strategy if you find a bug during testing? So whenever a bug is discovered, what we can do is we can run additional tests to ensure that the problem has a precise description. Then you can run tests to make sure a similar problem does not exist with other inputs. And the third, once a certainty is established, you can add more details and then report the bug. The next question is, how will you test if the requirements have been frozen or not? Okay, so if the specifications haven't been frozen for a product, then you can curate the test plan based on assumptions regarding the product. However, these assumptions should be well documented in the test plan. The next question is, how will you conquer the challenges that can occur because of the unavailability of documents during the testing? Okay, so in case of the standard documents, such as feature description document or system requirements specification are missing, then the quality assurance will be based on references such as screenshots, wireframes, and a previous version of the application. So another method or approach could be having discussions with the developers and the business analysts. So this will help resolve the doubts and open a channel for bringing transparency to the requirements. The next question is, can you spot the difference between regression testing and retesting? So regression testing ensures the fixed bug doesn't break the other application components, while retesting is performed to verify the defect that has been fixed. Okay, so with regression test cases, the functionality for all or some of the modules is verified. So retesting offers a higher priority in comparison to the regression testing. The next question is, what would be the key challenges of manual testing? Okay, so guys, this is a scenario based question wherein depending upon your experience of the previous companies. So based on the previous experiences that you have, like the previous company experiences that you have, there will be different challenges that you must have faced or encountered in manual testing. Okay, so some of the standard challenges of manual testing are mentioned over here. So the first point over here is the lack of standard documentation to comprehend the application. Next, testing the application entirely with the help of optimized test cases. The next point is unavailability of skilled testers. Then deciding the test that should be executed first. After that, understanding the requirements clearly and the ability to know when to stop the testing. Okay, so these are some of the standard key challenges of manual testing. Now let's move ahead. The next question is define functional and non-functional test cases. Okay, so functional testing is the testing of the functionality of a product or an application. It helps test the software's behavior, and based on the client's requirements, a document known as the software specification or the requirement specification gets used to test the application. On the other hand, if you talk about the non-functional testing, it is when an application works according to the user's expectations and it is regardless of the condition of the software. The next question is, what is the meaning of STLC? Okay, so STLC is referred to as software testing lifecycle. So it proposes the execution of tests in a systematic and planned manner. In this model, a lot of activities take place intending to enhance the product's quality. Okay, this method covers the requirement analysis, test planning, test case development, environment setup, test execution, and test cycle closure. The next question is, what is the meaning of a fault? So fault is a condition that leads to the failure of software execution when performing a regarded function. The next question is, what is the difference between a bug, defect, and an error? So an error occurs when there is a slip in coding. So this can be discovered by a manual tester when it becomes a defect. So if the development team admits the defect, it becomes a bug. So in case a build code misses the requirements, it turns out to be a functional failure. The next question is, what is the relationship between severity and priority? So severity signifies the depth or the gravity of a bug. So it helps describe the application's perspective. On the other hand, if you talk about priority, so priority talks about the bug that must be fixed on a priority basis. So it also defines the point of view of the users. The next question is, list down the severity types. The criticality or the severity of a bug can be high, medium, or low, depending on a few contexts, such as user interface defects come under low severity, boundary related defects and error handling defects come under medium severity, and error handling defects, calculation defects, misinterpreted data, hardware failures, compatibility issues, control flow defects, and load conditions come under the high severity defects. The next question is, define defect removal efficiency. DRE or the defect removal efficiency is a testing metric that indicates the development team's efficiency in fixing the errors and the issues before releasing the software. So it is measured as a ratio of fixed defects to the total number of discovered issues. For instance, if there were 80 discovered defects during the testing and 60 were fixed, the DRE will be 80 by 60, which is nothing but 1.3%. The next question is, how will you perform automated testing in an environment? Okay, so automation testing is one such process that helps execute the tests automatically. It decreases the need for various human interventions significantly. So various tools can be used for automation testing, such as Windrunner, Selenium, QTP, and so on. So with the help of testing tools, we can speed up the testing tasks. Also, these tools help us create the test scripts to verify the application and generate the test reports automatically. The next question is, what is the difference between software testing, quality control, and quality assurance? So software testing is one process that ensures that the product meets the requirements of the users. The objective of performing this test is to discover the bugs and fix them. Hence, it helps to maintain the product's quality so that it can be delivered to the customer. Now, if you talk about the quality control, so this is related to the product's quality. It not just discovers the defects, but it also suggests improvements as well. Hence, the testing team is liable for quality control. And quality assurance is a systematic and planned way of monitoring the quality of the entire process meant to come up with the quality product. It helps you track the test reports and modify the process to fulfill the expectations. The next question is, state the difference between bug release and bug leakage. Bug release is when a specific software version is released with known bugs. So generally, these bugs are of low priority or severity. And if you talk about bug leakage, so this happens when a bug is identified by the end customer and missed by the testing team when testing the software. So guys, with this, we have come to the end of this session on manual testing interview questions. Okay, so we have tried to cover maximum questions in this video. Okay, and I hope this video was helpful to you. Okay, so just before your actual interview, if you go through this video, so this video will serve as a very good revision for your interview. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for being with us. If you have any doubts related to this video, then you can write your doubts and queries in the comment section, and we will try to resolve your doubts as early as possible. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for being with us, and all the best for your upcoming interview.